My Music. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreiner. And here to introduce the teams is Steve Race.
Thank you. Another edition of My Music with the same four panellists. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Meet then Frank Muir and David Franklin, competing against Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. Orchestral instrumental music. First, a mark for the title, another mark for the composer's name. First music to David Franklin. So, David, title and composer.
German.
Yes, German.
Late 19th century.
Yes.
And this isn't a symphony.
No, you might have expected to hear there Claudio Arrau, but you didn't.
Piano concerto.
Yes.
Brahms' piano concerto.
Which number would you like?
Well, the one I like is number 2.
So does Claudio Arrau, enough to play it in that recording. Yes. Number 2, piano concerto number 2, B-flat major, Brahms, part of the first movement. You worked your way to 2 marks, fair enough. Dennis, a different kind of music since you're a man with rather a different musical background.
I'm glad you don't play the classical bits, actually, for me, because it makes it so much nicer when I don't know this bit. It's an awful nightmare that one day he's going to do the national anthem. I'm going to sit here waiting for Ian to write it down.
No, they wouldn't play that. Nobody would stand for it.
I don't know. That's an awful... I'm not very good at orchestra. It is an orchestral piece anyway.
Its existence is twofold. It existed as the theme music from a film, I tell you, a French film, and it also was made into a song.
No, I don't know.
Particularly brilliant French composer, Michel Legrand.
Legrand. It's not from... Well, he did The Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
That's your other mark, yes.
Oh.
Well, that's 1 out of 2, I think. It's Michel Legrand's from the theme from The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. The song version, I will wait for you. Ian, tricky this one, and the audience, I think, may look blank when they hear it, but I think you will get it. Let's see.
Great many years ago, I had the exciting experience of playing above the title in Drury Lane in that very show, Fanny.
Title role?
No. No. I shared the top of the bill with redoubtable character, Mr. Robert Morley.
Yes.
And he spent a lot of time, like Rex Harrison did before My Fair Lady, in working the musical numbers. And the conductor of the show was Michael Collins, and they had a remarkable understanding because they began the numbers simultaneously and they finished them simultaneously. But occasionally some very, very interesting things happened in the middle.
And the composer for your other mark, Ian?
Harold Rome.
Harold Rome, yes. Frank, have you ever paused on a seaside promenade to listen to the strains of a military band or a municipal orchestra? Because if you have, this is what they were playing. It is what they were playing, isn't it?
They weren't.
Were they?
No, they were playing something that went boom, 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 boom. Because the tuppenny seats were so far back that all you heard was the bass. That's awfully pretty, if I might say so.
Pretty, yes. It's been considered pretty for lo these many years.
It's a little valse. Is it a little dance?
No, it's not a valse, technically or in any other sense.
I'm groping a little here, see?
Just a fraction.
Yes. I approached the answer with an open mind.
Your mate was writing something down. I think he was writing, I don't know either.
I wasn't writing then.
No. It says one large cut loaf. I think... Some private domestic business.
Well, I'll have to tell you then, Foden's band was playing Overture Raymond by... For the other mark, do you know? No.
Wait a minute.
Ambroise Thomas.
I was just going to say that.
It's a pity you didn't get it out, yes. One mark out. No marks there, isn't it? Sorry. Here are some rather unusual names, but all with strong musical connections. 2 marks at stake. David, who are, or were if you prefer, Misael and Varlam?
Varlam is a drunken priest in Boris Godunov.
And so is his friend.
Yes, so is his friend.
2 wandering friars.
Yeah.
2 marks out of 2.
Missile.
Dennis, who was Ishkabibble? There's a light in the eye.
Yes. I'm always humiliated by the order. Is it the London Music Society we have here so often?
The Music Club of London.
Music Club of London, yes. Because you always ask them and they know and I do. Who was Ishkabibble?
They don't know.
They don't know. Now,
this is your big
in the early
favourite.
40s, there was a band leader called Kay Kaiser, who, if for nothing else, will go down in history for a remark he once made where he said you could make a musician out of a gentleman, but you can never make a gentleman out of a musician. And he had a band show, which was a radio show called The College of Musical Knowledge. He also had a record that went, who wouldn't love you, who wouldn't care? But anyway, he had in it a trumpet player who used to supply the comedy called Ishkabibble.
2 marks out of 2 for Dennis and his description of Ishkabibble. Ian, who was Florence Foster Jenkins?
Oh, a splendid lady, who, I think she was an American lady, who used to take the Carnegie Hall. She was very, very wealthy. And she used to take the Carnegie Hall and give concerts, singing a large number of operatic arias incredibly badly. Out of tune, out of time, and recordings were made of these, and I believe had a wide sale because nobody could believe that anybody could have the temerity to stand up and sing these things so appallingly badly. And
did the recording sell?
Oh, I think they sold.
And hope yet. Wait till we get to the singing bit tonight. If there are any record executives listening in.
And I believe Sir Thomas Beecham, more than anything else, enjoyed playing his Florence Foster Jenkins recordings. He used to sit there and shake with mirth.
My favourite record of hers was her version of the Queen of the Nights aria by Mozart. And she had an accompanist named Moon, which seemed somehow appropriate. Very faithful, dog-like devotion to the piano.
She never quite got up to those notes, ever.
Never. Particularly that pop, that bit. Anyway, 2 out of 2 for Ian Wallace. Frank, who was Banjo? Who?
Banjo was a rather picaresque character in a play called The Man Who Came to Dinner.
Yes, you got it, yes.
And it was played in this country, at least the chief part, Sheridan Whiteside, was played by Robert Morley. And the play, on the night the play opened, his wife gave birth to a son, whom he called Sheridan, which is the name of the character he played in the play. And Sheridan Morley is now a distinguished biographer and television journalist.
Oh, well.
Banjo.
Oh, yeah. What's the musical connection, then? Why are we talking about banjo in my music?
Because a banjo is a thing, when you add lele to it, was played in the 20s.
and her banjo band or something. No, I had in mind Jimmy Durante, who played the part of banjo in the film version of The Man Who Came to Dinner and sang to Monty Woolley a song. Do you remember this, Dennis? You're the king of this thing. Do you remember how the song went?
No.
No, it was... Did you ever
have the feeling
that you wanted to stay? That wanted to go when
wanted
to
stay?
I don't
see the point, actually, of thinking that the film version, jazzed up, was superior to the original stage version.
Well, Monty Woolley took a bit of beating in that film, I thought. And there was Jimmy Durante singing a song, and that's how he got into my music.
Can I have a bonus mark?
2 marks. No, I don't think so.
Just down.
Songs about or for the very young. You'll remember a couplet by a well-known poet in the Child's Garden of Verses, which reads, "Hush, my child, no cause to pout, nurse is in when mums is out." I'm going to drop these poems. Anyway, these will recall your nursery days with Nanny. David, who's singing and what creature is he singing about? 2 marks.
He grabbed the grey goose by the neck, slung a duck across his back. He didn't mind the whack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. He didn't mind the whack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh.
This is a very unfair round for me, because when I was young, children were sent down the mines. But nevertheless, I've heard tell that that's John Pertwee and he's singing about ducks.
No, he was not singing about... but the song was not about ducks. It mentioned ducks, but that would have been too easy. No, it's the name of the song. What was it that carried the duck in its mouth, in fact?
Oh, Wolf Fox?
Fox would do for the other mark, all right. It's John Pertwee singing The Fox. Dennis, whose music and based on whose book?
I work for a horrid man called Grimes, who's been in jail for a number of crimes. And when he sees me covered in soot, he gives me a kick with his great big foot.
Is it the Water Babies? No.
Yes.
Is it the Water Babies?
Yes.
Now, who's singing?
Well, I don't know.
No, that's what you asked me. I mean...
No, it wasn't. Whose music?
At least do me the decency of looking these things up beforehand.
Whose music, I said, and based on whose book? Who wrote The Water Babies, first of all?
Charles Kingsley.
Yeah, that's a mark. And whose music, then? There.
Handel, surely. I don't know. I never heard of this.
Oh, I think it was A.P. Herbert wrote the book, but the music was by Vivian Ellis.
Vivian Ellis.
I've just written... If you look this way...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I've written Vivian E.
Yeah. My eyes only go that way when it's opera. I'm sorry.
1 mark out of 2. Ian, you can write this one down for yourself. Who's singing and who is she singing about?
But at every place they said to his face, "Now, get out of here. Get out. Get out. Get out of here."
Is that Puff the Magic Dragon?
Sounded like a bit of an unusual passage from Puff the Magic Dragon.
No, much more older and more respected child.
The Ugly Duckling.
Yes, the Ugly Duckling.
It wasn't Danny Kaye, that's what put one off a bit.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Who was it?
Was it Beryl Reid?
No. No. The lady in question wouldn't mind me saying earlier than that.
You want me to tell you who it was?
Yes, please.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Evergreen.
Hermione.
No. Lady with an evergreen voice. That was about.
Oh, Jessie. Jessie Matthews.
Yes, I will give you that, because I was a bit easy on David. Jessie Matthews, it was singing The Ugly Duckling. 2 marks. Frank, again, who's the singer and what's he singing about?
Then the golden grouse came there, and the bobble who has no toes, and the small Olympian bear, and the dong with a luminous nose, and the blue baboon who played the flute, and the orient calf from the land of Tute. The otter is squash and the bisky bat all came and built on the lovely hat of the...
You forgot the words.
Is it the chap who sings with a small guitar?
Yes, to a small guitar. Yes.
Elton Hayes.
Elton Hayes for a mark.
And it's the Pobble, isn't it?
No.
The Tolis Pobble. Is it?
No. It's one of Edward Lear's nonsense songs, but it's not that. It's the...
The ding with the...
An article of wear, actually, I have down here.
An article of wear, not the ding with the luminous...
I have taken down an article of wear on that card. And you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
No, it's the Quangle Wangle's hat.
He didn't mention that.
1 out of 2. In this next round, 2 marks for you if you answer the verbal question that I ask with a snatch of song. So I'm going to do the talking and you're going to do the singing. Answer in song. David, who's astride Thomas Pearce's feminine equine?
Who's astride? Oh,
all of them.
Yeah, all of them, the lot.
In song.
Dan Piercy, Daniel Whitten, Peter Dimmock, Kenneth Wolstenholme,
Rupert Davis.
And Uncle Dave Coleman and all.
They'll do nicely, won't they?
Yes.
Bill Brewer, Jan Stewart, Peter Gurney, Peter David, Daniel Whitten, Harry York.
Oh, those are the aliases.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I'll give you those. 2 marks. Dennis, what does Moses imagine? Incorrectly, as it turns out.
You want me to answer in song?
Yes.
I guess I'll have to dream the rest. What does Moses imagine? Well, there are several songs about Moses. There's Old Man Moses Dead. There's the one in Picardy. Would this be from the things that you're liable to read in the Bible? It ain't necessarily so.
No, it's not. I really can't give you any more chances.
No.
Anybody in the audience know what Moses imagines? Yes, thank you. Thank you, madam. Moses supposes his toesies are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. The song sung by Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly in Singing in the Rain. Lovely song, too. No marks, I'm afraid. Ian, what was the first situation secured by Sir Joseph Porter on leaving school?
When I was a lad, I served a term as office boy to an attorney's firm. I cleaned the windows and I swept the floor and I polished up the handle on the big front door.
He polished up the
handle on the big front door.
Yes, he did. And you ended up in the Navy, didn't you? Yes. 2
Sitting
marks.
outside number 10.
Frank, what anatomically is going to happen to the Iberian intruder who ruined your domestic arrangements?
Well, was it something a bunion on here? Spanish onion. Is that?
That's right, yes. He shall die, he shall
He shall die.
Oh,
He shall die.
There's a bunion on his Spanish onion.
Actually, I tie, if I remember
Doubtless.
right.
Doubtless.
Well, who is he? He's the...
The Spaniard who blighted my life.
Yes,
Ta-da.
that's right, 2 marks. Songs from the shows. David, just as a change from composers, whose book and lyrics, and based on whose novel?
All the time, peace of mind in pretending. Couldn't you, couldn't I, couldn't we?
It's Jeremy Kern.
Yes, well, whose book and lyrics, same man, and whose novel?
The novel is Edna Ferber.
Yes, Edna Ferber. The show, of course, being Showboat. Who wrote the book and lyrics?
Jerome Kern.
No,
The lyrics were
no.
P.G. Woodhouse.
Well, an occasional song, but not really.
Was
the
it
book
Guy
and lyrics.
Bolton?
No. Same man who went on and on and on to compose great musicals with Richard Rogers.
Oh, Hammerstein.
It was Oscar Hammerstein II.
The 11th. Oh, is it second?
Showboat 1937, 1 out of 2. Dennis, can you describe the scene?
It's a scene in The Music Man
Yes,
where Marion, the librarian, is giving piano lessons to a little girl, and the little girl painfully does this, which Marion then turns into a song called Good Night, My Someone, which then at the end turns into the intro to 76 trombones.
Yeah, it's really the same tune in a different rhythm, 76 trombones. One of the few times that's been done, I think, in a popular musical show. Very good, Did you recognise the pianist?
Mr. Race,
Yes, he was.
I found my questions the same way.
Found my level at last. Yes. 2 marks. Ian, which musical and based on which play?
Many a new face will please my eye, many a new love will find me. Never have I once looked back to sigh over the romance behind me. Many a new day will dawn before I do.
Which, first of all, the musical.
Oklahoma.
Yes, there's a mark. And the play on which it was based, the story.
Lilium. Well, which was then, yes, and after that it was something...
I'm on the automatic pilot now.
Green Grow, something the rushes... Green Grow the something or other. The lilac, the rush...
lilacs, as Frank Sinatra would call it. Green Grow the Lilacs, yes. Green Grow the Lilacs was the play on which it was based. You got that for 2. Frank, yours is from a film, not a play. Who sang it, please, and what was the name of the film?
I sang this song through half the war in Iceland, all to myself, I might say, a couple of sheep. But I never saw the film it came from. You Stepped Out of a Dream.
It's the song,
well, it wasn't Tony Martin.
Yes, Tony Martin's got you a mark. The film, I'll tell you, the film had in it James Stewart, Judy Garland and Hedy Lamarr. 1941.
Did it have the Tenement Symphony? Did he shriek that out as well?
Not in that film, no. That came from a Marx Brothers film, I think.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Yes. This was about... I think I must help you. It was a very difficult one. It was about a great showman. There's help if you like.
Not Barnum.
Bailey? I did try. They came from the film Ziegfeld Girl. Remember the Ziegfeld idyll we were talking about last week?
The great showman born every minute.
1 out of 2. Singing now. 1 mark for the words, 1 for the tune, a 3rd mark for carrying on when the music stops. 3 marks in all. A song from David Franklin.
To add something more to this wonderful year, 'tis to honor we call you as free men, not slaves, for who... Hearts of oak are a men... Is it?
Yes, it is. Heads of oak, isn't it?
Heads of oak are a men... I'll keep my key if you don't mind.
I'll go in the back way.
I'm advised that it's heads of oak are our men, heads of oak are our ships. We always are ready. Steady, boys, steady. We'll fight and we'll conquer again and again.
Would you like 3 marks or the rest of the voyage in irons? Which do you prefer?
Wasn't this one actually written by David Garrick to celebrate the coronation of George III in 1760?
You've been listening to my music. We had it a few weeks ago. Not your side, somebody on the other side did. Dennis, here's your song.
Keep your tail up, keep the sun out of my eyes. So if I kiss you in the garden and hold the seat, keep your tail. I thought I'd do a medley for a change.
Remember there was a marvellous record of that.
And he's going to sing G
by the Savoy Orpheans, and I don't know which instrument, but there was somebody did a marvellous in the middle of it.
I was going to finish with a joke about a man who worked in a shoe shop, ladies' shoe shop, but he used to be a blacksmith, and he was fired for putting the ladies' feet between his legs when he put the shoes on.
The only other joke I can contribute on that was years ago when Denis and I, take it from here days, must be 20 years ago, did a sketch about the Scarlet Pimpernel. And it was a short meeting of the writer of the Scarlet Pimpernel with her publisher, if you remember, when he said to her, Orksy, keep your tail up. 20 years ago.
It comes out as fresh as ever, Frank. Fresh as it was.
I don't suppose anybody remembers it now, but Dennis's song wasn't very good, and he's getting 2 out of 3 for it. Ian, see if you can do better. Here's yours.
Far o'er the mountain breaks the day too soon. In thy dark eye splendor, where the warm light loves to dwell, weary looks but tender speak a fond farewell. Nita, Juanita,
just play.
Ask thy soul if we should part. Nita, Juanita. You've upset my apple cart.
Oh dear!
I got so moved.
Oh, there are times when you just want to turn it in and listen to Ian for the rest of time, aren't there? The last line that eluded you and got you, well, I suppose 3 marks. Last line was "Lean thou on my heart."
I bet there'll be people listening to that when it goes out. When it gets to that part and say, hello, that battery's gone again.
And so we come to Frank's song, and if the audience feels like joining in, I think it would be a good idea. Frank.
Just in front of the... wait a minute! John's only just seen the greyhound in the road. I'm following the father's footsteps, following the dear old dad. He's just in front of the nice big girl. Nice big girl.
Yes, girl, that's
I'm
right.
going to find one as well. Who knows where he's going? When he gets there, I'll be glad. I'm following father's footsteps. I'm following the dear old dad. Hey!
I'll never know why the audience didn't join in with you. That's 3 marks. End of my music, I'm afraid, this edition. And this week it's a victory by 1 mark only for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. Goodbye.
Taking part in my music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason and the programme was produced by Tony Schreier.
The BBC presents My Music, a musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the teams.
here's another My Music programme. 2 versus 2, like all the best panel games. On the left, my left, David Franklin and Frank Muir. On my right, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. As usual in the first round, 1 mark for the title, another mark for the composer's name. And we begin, as ever, with David Franklin.
They sometimes can give you a clue.
Yes. There's a chap sitting there 4 rows back. He doesn't know it either.
That's a chap from BBC 2 Music.
He's a very famous music critic, actually, and he doesn't know. Now, I must tell you, David, this is a very difficult one, but the composer's little theme idea, his fingerprint was there.
That's a clue.
Yes.
Fingerprints. Thumb. It's a composer. Try Elgar.
Yes, try Elgar.
Yes, it's a very early work, and it would appear to have foreign origins, and it's a dance.
Oh, from the Bavarian Highlands.
Well, from one of the Bavarian dances, yes.
Yes.
Well, I don't think I can give you any marks. The Marksmen from Bavarian Dances, an early work by Elgar, Opus 27.
No marks for Elgar. No marks for Bavaria.
1 mark for John Amos in the audience for Elgar. No marks, I fear, to David Franklin, and welcome to the show, John Amos.
For the word Bavaria.
Oh, don't be so argumentative. All right, half a mark for Bavaria, yes. Half a mark for Bavaria, fair enough. Dennis, who wrote this, and what did he, or she, of course, call it?
If you were going to give one of your tortured clues on this, would you say The Broken Puppet?
Yes. Oh, clever.
Holiday for Strings.
I wish I'd thought of that, yes.
And he or she who wrote it is either David Rose or Rose David, whichever.
Well, a David by any other name would still be called David Rose or something. Yes, David Rose, Holiday for Strings, 2 marks for Dennis. Ian, see how you get on. You've heard this tune in more than one form. I'm going to be rather particular about the answer as regards the title of this orchestral piece. Listen. Instrumental piece, rather. Listen.
Yes, it's Schubert.
Yes, 1 mark.
And it's the Trout.
Trout what? Yes.
Quintet.
Yes, I didn't...
As opposed to the song.
Yes, that's right, exactly. From the 4th movement of the Trout Quintet. 2 marks for Ian Wallace. Frank, title and composer... Well, she figures in the title, yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes, but you heard an instrumental piece there. And... Yes, but just as Ian couldn't get away with the song, The Trout, so you can't get away with Elizabeth. I want the instrumental title.
Serenade.
Elizabethan Serenade.
Elizabethan Serenade. That's exactly what's hovering on my tongue.
Well, how are you doing for the hovering of the composer's name?
Ah. Oh, was that in the round? I wasn't listening. Elizabethan Serenade. Is it a modern composer?
Yes.
Is it sort of Ron Goodwin, sort of?
No, but same generation. Have a drink and see if that reminds you. Have several drinks.
Steve Water.
Supposing you had too many drinks, what would you be on? You'd be on a binge. I'm trying to get you to say Ronald Binge to me. That's the...
Ronald Binge. Poor chap.
Not so poor since Elizabethan Serenade, I may tell you. And what do I do? I give you 1 mark out of 2 there. Next round, the musical theatre. Heavy or light, as the case may be. David, in 1862, a member of Parliament composed an opera. Who and which opera? Try a country or two and then narrow it down. No, try another one.
Italy?
Yes. A member of the Italian Parliament from 1861 to 1865, during which time he composed...
Verdi?
Yes, Verdi was an MP.
I never knew that.
There you are.
Was it Mass Ball?
No, I'll have to tell you, won't I? It was La Forza del Destino, which Verdi composed while a member of the Italian Parliament in 1862. A mark for Verdi, fair enough. Dennis, rather lighter music in your case. What have these ladies in common? Martha Ray, Pearl Bailey, Phyllis Diller, Betty Grable, Ethel Merman.
Do they have it in common with Carol Channing and Dorothy Lamour?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And Barbara Streisand, in a sense, too.
Yeah. Yes, they played the lead in Hello, Dolly.
They all played Dolly. 2 marks. Ian, over the years, Rodgers and Hammerstein's musicals have had some pretty mixed receptions from the press. One critic said that The Sound of Music was for people who find James Barry pretty rough stuff. But the tersest review, I think, was by Kenneth Tynan, who called one of their musicals A World of Woozy Song. Which musical?
Flower Drum Song.
Yes.
Kenneth Tynan also said about The Sound of Music that it suits all ages from 13 to 14.
Anyway, Ian's got 2 marks for correctly identifying Flower Drum Song. Frank, which Broadway musical has one song accompanied by the sound of typewriters and another accompanied by the drone of an electric razor? Does that ring a bell?
Are they the same musical?
Thank
Are they
you.
the same
Yes, they're the same show, a show.
Well, the razor was the chap singing I Believe in You.
That's right, yes.
How to succeed in business without really shaving.
Yes.
Without really typing, I'm sorry.
Yes, how to succeed in business without really trying. The typewriter song was called A Secretary Is Not a Toy. 2 marks to Frank, and on to the next round. One of the gratifying things about taking the chair in my music, I always think, is the way you gentlemen are so cultured. Not just musical, but literary-minded as well.
Yeah.
Men of the world, but alive to developments in all the arts and sciences. Here, then, are some settings of famous poems. For 1 mark, and this is the point, who's the poet? David.
Cherry ripe, 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 full and fair ones come and buy. Cherry ripe, 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 full and fair ones come and buy.
It was written under a pseudonym.
Or Bush. Not John Gay, is it?
No.
No, I'll have a go at Anon.
What a good idea.
Care, do you?
I can't give you your mark for that. It was in fact Robert Herrick.
Yes.
1591 to 1674. I took the precaution of finding out.
If it would console you at all, David, I sang that in one of my first theatrical appearances as a soprano, a boy soprano, when I played the part of a cherry seller in Dick Whittington in the school pantomime. And it had a cadenza, I believe, with a top B, which I could sing in those days. I can't sing it now. But just thought that might interest you.
Yes, do go on. This is much better than the programme.
Were you white or red?
White. The voice was very white in those days.
The singer we heard there incidentally was Elizabeth Harwood. That's no marks, I'm afraid, for David. Dennis, the poet concerned here, please.
Is the last rose of summer left blooming alone? All
her lovely companions are faded and gone.
I'll do a footnote as well. It's Thomas Moore, who wrote things like The Minstrel Boy, but he also wrote one of the really tin-ear lines of English poetry, which is, "Come rest in my bosom, my own stricken dear." And dear is spelt D-double-E-R. So if you can conjure up the idea of a lady with a stricken D-W-E-R resting in her bosom, she really would emit a cadenza in top B.
Anyway, if its antlers were very sharp.
Yeah. You get the antlers right up your hooter.
Well, Denis gets a mark for saying Thomas Moore, born in 1779 in Dublin, as a matter of interest.
We don't get another for saying it was Kenneth McKellar.
No, it just happened to be singing Last Rose of Summer. There's a mark. Ian, yours is so easy for you that I want, please, in your case, not only the man, but his date of birth and hour. I mean, as well.
My love, she was a lassie, yet my love, she was a lassie, yet we let her stand here on toi, je ne vais pas se sentir. A rue de a Santoro, a rue de a Santoro, who gets a Nina say she's rude, but he will say he's butter.
You didn't really expect it was going to be My Usual Mama, did you?
Well, in a sense, it's just about as appropriate that a Branny should sing My Love, She's But a Lassie, yet with a splendid Scots Geordie accent.
Oh, and Brannigan. And, of course, if you don't know the date, Ian, you'll never work north of Housesteads again, will you?
That's terrible, isn't it? It's Robert Burns is the poet.
Date of birth?
Yes, about 1758.
25th of January, as you so rightly say.
Oh, I knew that. Because there's a song about that, and we have famous Burns Nichts where we all sing.
1759, actually, was the year.
Well, I wasn't far out when I said 1758.
No.
What a relief.
You get a... Robert Burns, born 25th of January 1759.
1958. In that case, he'd happily be still with us.
Yes. Frank, who wrote these words?
Where the satyrs are chattering and in their flattering limbs of the forested house, for the beauty of marrow and cucumber narrow and Ceres will join in the dance. Where the satyrs can flatter the flatly fruit and the gherkin green and the marrow, said Queen Venus, Silenus will settle between us the gold and the cucumber narrow.
Edith Sitwell.
I love the roar of laughter that followed. That is right, isn't it? Of course, it's perfectly right.
Facade.
It was, in fact, Dame Edith Sitwell from Facade. Yes, the tarantella. You get a mark there, and the singer, incidentally, or the speaker of those lines from Facade was Annie Ross. And here's the next round. Here we sit, a mere stone's throw from Trafalgar Square and within spitting distance, although that would of course be illegal, from London's own river, known affectionately to American visitors as the Thames. So what could be more appropriate than a round of questions about London? David, who wrote this, and for your second mark, for what occasion? Pardon? Haydn for what occasion, yes?
Well, for a visit to London.
Yes, they're one of his London symphonies. Thank you. 2 marks. Dennis, who wrote this? And for your second mark, what was the name of the ballet that he presented at the Royal Festival Hall in 1959?
Well, it's No Coward, London Pride. And the ballet presented at the Royal Festival Hall, it must have been something in praise of London.
Yes, it was London something.
Well, it may have been called, with any luck, London Pride.
No, we all have got 1 mark. Anybody in the audience know? Thank you, yes. Thank you, sir. That was London Morning was the name of the ballet concerned. Yes, 1 mark out of 2. Ian, no help from your partner with this one. Who's the composer and who's the singer?
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London so. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I think of her wherever I go.
I always think of this marvellous character as perpetrating these marvellous sort of gags like, His Majesty's annoyed, His Majesty's annoyed, King's Cross, oi. Yes. Surely goes to show how good Bud Flanagan's material was.
1 mark. Who wrote the song?
It wasn't Noel Gay, was it, by any chance?
No.
About that period, I imagine.
No, later, really. He was writing later than Noel Gay was writing.
Not Phil Park.
Married to a very lovely lady in the show business.
Oh, Hubert Gregg.
Yes, Hubert Gregg. I think we can give you that. Can't be for 2 marks. Yes, Hubert Gregg. Frank, with no help from your partner in this case, for your 2 marks, where in London and who composed it? I'll give you a clue, it's over there.
It's the curtain waltz. It seems to me very much like Eric Coates.
Yes,
London
there's a mark.
Suite.
Yes, from his one of his London suites, yes.
And I think is it the run-up to the tune of the Knightsbridge March?
No.
Ah, that's very interesting.
Which way did you point?
That's the 3rd movement. This is the 1st movement.
Which way did you point?
Over there.
That's the river.
No, the river's there.
The river goes that way.
You can't be Charing Cross, can it?
No, it's beyond there.
Beyond Charing Cross.
Birmingham.
Actually, it's Jutland.
I've got to go.
London Bridge.
No. One of us is wrong. I'm sure I'm right about direction now. It's Covent Garden is the answer. Covent Garden, which is over that away. For something of a change now in my music, 4 questions about the ballet. David, what is an entrechat? Easy to do, difficult to describe, rather like a spiral staircase.
The performer leaps up into the air and twiddles his feet.
Like an egg beater.
And with luck, he's finished his twiddling before he comes back to it. If he hasn't finished his twiddling before he lands, he's in dead trouble.
Yes, couldn't have put it better, an entrechat. Vertical jump in the air, and after the rather dull fashion of my answers here, it says, during which the feet are repeatedly crossed. You've certainly got a mark, David. Dennis, who was unmasked by a jealous gamekeeper?
I really haven't the faintest
Unmasked by a jealous gamekeeper.
In ballet fashion, yeah.
Correct answer, of course, Count Albrecht. Ian, what did von Rotbart do to Odette?
Von Rotbart?
To make it even more kinky, it was underwater, too. Or on the water.
Something to do with Swan Lake.
Yes.
Yes.
He put a spell on her. I'm going to give you half a mark for Swan Lake, even though I did give it to you on
Shot
a plate. Frank, another ballet question. How many positions are there?
There's 2:45, and there's 3 o'clock, and there's 5 to 3, 10 to 3.
Yes.
Then it goes into the 3rd dimension. There's
25 to 6 is the most difficult one of all.
I suppose nervous ballet dancers could be called uptights.
Have a guess at a number.
It's quite small, isn't it?
Yes, quite
in fact, because it's what they do with their feet. Because their hands are bent like the jug of a Toby jug at the time. So they don't do much with their hands. It's what they do with their feet. 6.
Well, near enough. Near enough. 5 there are. Basic. I
was speaking of before the war.
And we move on to our last round. One of our great English poets, Milman Lawrence, known as the Swan of Egham, once wrote, "Sweet Sylvia's praise with music crowned must make the lowliest voice renowned." And this is the point in our show when lowly voices are raised in song. The usual 3 marks, and we begin with a song for and from David Franklin.
Boiled beef and carrots. That's something.
A brave shot, I think. You're very near, actually. Did you know that? You are very near.
Well, yes, I had a teeny-weeny suspicion that this was the roast beef of old England.
Yes, that's right, yes.
And I hadn't a clue what the words of that are, so I thought I'd have a go at the old boiled beef and carrots.
And I enjoyed it, and I think we might give you 2 out of 3 for that. Dennis, here's your song.
John Brown's baby has a pimple. John Brown's baby has a pimple on his... And the one staff officer jumped right over the other staff officer's back.
Very nice too, yeah. Much more interesting histoire than what I've got written down here. Yeah. Shall we go in 3 marks out of 3?
Yeah.
Yes, go on. Ian, a song for you.
What was I wish to see? What wish to hear? Where all the joy and mirth made this town heaven on earth. All this has fled with thee, Robin Adair.
You've had the decorators in. 3 out of 3 for Ian. Frank's song.
Yes.
Here's your song. If the audience wants to join in, who would I be to stop them?
The Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums drumming everywhere. Oh, yeah. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we come over, and we won't be back till it's over there. From the halls of Montpellier,
My music ends for this week with a victory for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier. The BBC presents My Music. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the teams.
Thank you. Here's another edition of My Music. 2 contestants, like inhabitants of the Ark, and another 2 contestants facing them. Frank Muir and David Franklin competing against Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. First round, who wrote it and what did he call it? David Franklin.
It was written by Mozart and he called it a dramma giocoso.
Let's have it straight. What did he call that overture?
Don Giovanni.
Yes, thank you. Don Giovanni. 2 marks. Don Giovanni by Mozart. Dennis, no help, I think. Try this on your own.
I think it's a piano bit.
Yes, you'd be right.
And it's called Clair de Lune.
Yes. Composed by?
By Mr. Debussy.
Clair de Lune by Debussy. 2 marks for Denis Norden. Ian, what's this and who wrote it?
It's one of these terrible moments when one just knows the music so well. And that's all.
Oh, come on, Ian. You must have danced this in your time.
Not in my time. It was...
Danced is right. It's from, as David is trying to help you. It's
from, yes, it's a ballet.
From ballet.
Yes. Try...
Chai-Iking from this.
Chai-Lieb.
Yes.
No, I can't. It's Delibes. It's the Mazurka from Coppelia, ballet by Leo Delibes. Frank, what's this?
It has a lyric, you know, written by Richard Murdoch.
Yes.
And it is, as I remember, the Ballet Egyptienne.
Yes, that's 1 mark. Who wrote it?
Do you know who it is?
Ballet Egyptian.
I ought to know.
Well, it's just one.
You ought to know all the answers, sir. You do, but infrequently.
The gentleman's name was Luigini. 1 mark out of 2.
Luigini.
Songs that sold 1 million. That's what the publicity boys say anyway. David, 5 years before you were born, I happen to know, the first 1 million-selling record was made. Whose record of what?
No. Was it a record of Caruso's?
Yes, singing. What would it be off of? You know this.
I've seen the photo of him doing it. It's the clown.
What? Is it on with Motley?
Yes. Dennis, who sold 1 million with 3 minutes of silence?
Not literal silence.
No. I have to give you
a song about his quiet... Oh, Silent Night. Bing Crosby's recording of Silent Night. Sold 1,700,327 copies.
Said he, pressing home his obvious advantage. I think I've got to give you that, haven't I?
Well, don't be so grudging. I mean, if the answer's right, there seems to be no reason why not.
As you must have realised, it's not the answer I've got down here.
I see.
I must give you that for 2 marks, I think. The record I had in mind was Nini Rosso, an Italian trumpeter, whose record was called Il Silenzio. The silence. 3 minutes of silence. He made $1 million out of with that. Well, there we are. You've got your marks. Why not? Ian, there are about 3,500 million people in the world, take it from me. One particular record has sold something like 25 million copies. So, every 140th person in the entire world has this record. I think it's a good thought for going mad by. Which is the record in question for 2 marks?
It sounds as if it could only be Auld Lang Syne.
No.
But it's a record.
No, it's a record by a famous singer whose name has been mentioned
Crosby.
not long ago.
Crosby, yes. White Christmas.
Of course, White Christmas, yes. 2 marks. Frank, among the million-selling artists of today, who is Robert Zimmerman of Duluth, Minnesota, and what made him choose his new name? Robert Zimmerman.
Bob Zimmerman.
Yes, Bob
Dylan. Because he admired Dylan Thomas.
That's right, yes.
So the yarn goes.
Bob Dylan is right, his first million seller, Like a Rolling Stone. He chose the name in honour of Dylan Thomas, whom he admired and admires. Each song in this next round is something to do with loneliness, so we might call the round You're on Your Own, Pal. David, the title, please. David.
The Loneliness of the Goatherd.
Lonely Goatherd from The Sound of Music. 1 mark to David. Dennis.
I don't know, care where you go to, I'm lonely and sad as can be. Got no pal to shout a hello to, there's only my shadow and me.
Is it Dat Lonely Road?
Yes. Yes, and Paul Robeson sang it in the film Song of Freedom. 1 mark. Ian, which is this?
I should explain that during the playing of that music, Frank was doing the most beautiful choreography I've seen for a long time, which the audience clearly understood. Every single man jack of them knows. But it Lonely Ballerina.
What did you say? Lonely what?
Ballerina.
Lonely Ballerina is the title of that song.
So that was what Frank was doing?
Yes.
No, that was just coincidence. He's taken to doing that rather a lot.
Well, I thought it was very beautiful.
Lonely Ballerina it was, Mark. It was Mantovani too. Frank, what's this?
A man can't sleep when he sleeps with she.
It comes from 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
Wonderful scene, too, in that film.
Yes, absolutely marvellous. And they swung those axes, didn't they, onto the tree stumps.
And the title of the song?
On Note. I'm trying to avoid that. I'm just a lonely polecat.
Lonesome polecat, yes, you certainly get the mark. Good. Just a quick flip through some general musical knowledge. David, what is a coup de glotte?
Cut your throat.
A coup de glotte is an effect that singers use. It's literally a blow of the glottis. In other words, you build up a supply of air in your windpipe and you close windpipe, and then you open it so that you make a tremendous attack upon a vowel. 3 marks.
Yes, well, 2. I was going to ask if it would be medically advisable for you to demonstrate for us, but you obviously won't do that.
No, I did that once, and I had to go to hospital with a broken leg.
Let that be a lesson to all listeners who are thinking of trying it. Yes, your absolute use of the false vocal cords as in a cough, says my definition here, to attack a note in singing. 2 out of 2. Thank you, David. Dennis, what are Clarabella and Dulciana?
They're ice cream sundaes.
Dulciana
is marshmallow and Clarabella is hot cherries. Musically... You've rather gathered that I don't know, I think.
Do we get anything out of the...
They're making...
I know what they do. Yes, I know what it is.
Can you explain?
Yes, it's a power-driven piano.
Let me explain. Yes. They were making signs over the other side, and Frank was doing a marvellous imitation of, well, somebody playing a power-driven piano. Yes. Or
I think there must be stops on an organ.
Yes, you certainly get the mark. Good.
That brings to mind the true story of during the war, when there was a band or an orchestra called the RAF Technical Training Command Orchestra, and they hadn't got a very good bassoon player, so instead they got a harmonium to play the bassoon part on a suitable stop on a harmonium. The first concert they played away from home, they got there and they forgot to take the harmonium with them. So they sent a truck out with orders to pick up the first harmonium they found and just ask questions afterwards. So they got this harmonium out of a village hall somewhere, put it in the middle of the orchestra, and off they went with the first piece which they were playing, which was Rossini's overture Semiramide, in which the strings play tee-ta-ta-tee-tee, and then there's a sort of trio of instruments with the bassoon on the bottom that goes pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. Well, they hadn't tested this harmonium, and when it got to this particular moment, the conductor was pointed to this chap on the harmonium, who was busy working the pedals like mad. But instead of pa, 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 all that happened was... I suppose he'd forgotten to pull out his Clarabella.
Let's hear from Ian Wallace. Ian, what is portable, and where would you find it?
Portable.
B-E-U-L. Are you a Highlander or a Lowlander, Scots-wise? Which are you?
Well, neither, really. I was, my origins are in the middle of Scotland.
I see. Ah, well, there you are. You wouldn't know then, would you? Portable is a kind of vocalese, a kind of wordless singing from the Scottish Highlands.
Oh, the mouth music. Yes. I've never heard it called that, but just shows, you see. There's
music. Can't give you any marks there. Frank, your turn. What is Ponticello?
It's a beautiful word. It's Italian, 1 mark. Cello means little. If a Roman has guests to dinner and they're looking a little bored, he might turn to them and say, after dinner, Ponticello, which means a little bridge.
Absolutely right for 2 marks. Literally, little bridge. Sol pomps is an injunction in string writing to play with the bow close to the bridge. 2 marks for Frank, anyway. No trouble about that. Here are some examples of what composers call mood music. They were all composed, these 4, incidentally, by Ron Goodwin. 1 mark for your descriptive powers in saying what the music conveys to you, and another mark for giving the piece a good title, whether or not it happens to tally with Ron Goodwin's composer title. David, here's yours.
It's dawn in the harem.
Very good.
And the new load of girls has just arrived. And as they come shimmering, indeed shivering in the early morning air...
For lack of
breakfast. They all jump down lightly. What a load of rubbish.
Pull yourself together.
It gets you sometimes, doesn't it?
They jump down out of the 3-ton lorry in which they've been brought. And the last one out hits the cymbals, which is a sign that they're all there. I rest my case.
Well, you may well rest your case. You have a couple of... What would you call it for your second mark? Just a title.
Girls Arriving at the Harem in Morocco.
Yes, I think it's a very nice title. Ron Goodwin called it, quite incorrectly, I'm sure, from a musical point of view, India.
Nothing like it.
No. But he's a smart fellow. He worked a bit of 633 Squadron in, I noticed.
Well, they were in India for a couple of months.
Anyway, 2 marks, David, of course, out of 2. Dennis, what does this put you in mind of?
This here's a big country, son. Out here, man can breathe, and it's cattle country. And we don't have no railroad men messing up our country, so you mosey on down the gulch, and we'll cut them off at the pass. I would call this homeless on deranged.
How much better than Ron's title, Prairie Serenade? 2 marks to Dennis. Ian, what about this?
Judging by that very last note, it would seem to me that this is a sort of rush hour sequence in a town or a city, sort of thing that makes a singer like myself who goes to a lot of different cities in the course of a year, fills one rather with gloom, because one wanders about these unfamiliar cities, nervous about what you've got to do in the evening, and you walk along and find yourself gazing in at unlikely windows of shops, staring straight at sort of second-hand condensers in an old television shop. I think this is the rush hour, which is getting near the time of the concert, so you're in having a poached egg on toast, and I would call it do not enter the box until your exit is clear.
Yes. London Serenade, Ron called it, and the music publisher's blurb mentions something about the pulsating hurly-burly of the metropolis, which is nice.
That's good.
That's good. Good stuff. 2 marks to Ian, Frank's music.
Almost poetry. I see this very, very thin cavalier dancer with this huge ballerina. And she's the one whose feet are going dum, 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 dum. And he's trying to follow her. It's a pas de deux between a very thin, frail ballet chap who is uptight. And a very large ballerina.
Yes. I've got enough title, please, for it.
Title, She's Hell.
Yes. Far better than Puppet Serenade. 2 marks. So to our final round. In the words of the poet Longfellow, the heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were practicing singing in the night.
Another race riot.
3 marks if you carry on with the words where the music leaves off. David, here's your song.
Here's to good old whiskey, drink it down, drink it down. Here's to good old whiskey, it makes you feel so frisky. Here's to good old whiskey, drink it down, drink it down.
Yeah.
That was almost a mistake.
What, the bottom B flat, you mean?
Yes, I very nearly didn't reach it.
3 marks out of 3. Dennis, your song.
CEONSTINOPLSOPISQR. I very nearly didn't reach that either. Constantinople. It's as easy to sing and to say as your ABC.
Good. Now, a gem of singing from Ian.
Carry the lad that's born to be king over the sea to sky. Loud the winds howl, loud the waves roar, thunderclaps rend the air. Baffled our foes stand on the shore, follow they will not dare. Speed, bonny bold, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky.
Lovely, thank you. Let's see how Frank gets on as a singer with this.
The place that's known to God alone.
Louder.
Just a spot to call our own. We'll find perfect peace and noise never cease. Somewhere beneath a friendly sky.
Build a sweet little nest.
We'll build a
Sweet little nest.
Somewhere in the west.
I let the wheels of the world go by.
And there we end my music for another week. It's a victory for David Franklin and Frank Muir.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier. the BBC presents My Music. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the teams.
Thank you, and welcome to another My Music. Here on the stage of the Playhouse Theatre in London, 4 familiar faces, attended by 4 bodies. They belong to Frank Muir and David Franklin, and Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. We begin the programme, don't we always, with some instrumental music. What's it called and who wrote it? David Franklin.
Must be.
Yes, I've taken advice on this, and it's Sibelius.
Yes, 1 mark. It's a march, à la Marcia, from...
Finlandia?
No.
Oh.
The Karelia Suite, by, as you said, though, Sibelius. 1 out of 2.
I ought to have known that.
Well, true enough. Dennis, what's this?
Oh, yes.
Bum.
I was in trouble there till that trumpet came in.
That's the giveaway, the trumpet bit, yes.
Would this be the greatest war song ever written?
Yes, it would, actually. Go on, name it.
The Wedding March.
Yes.
And you never hear that bit because that's round about there is where everybody's craning round to look at the bride and there's all this sort of muttering going on, you know. What does she look like in that dress? How she has the nerve to wear it in her condition?
It is indeed the unfamiliar bit from the Wedding March by...
Mendelssohn,
thank you. 2 marks for Denis Norden. There's a surprise. Ian, what's this and who wrote it?
Well, occasionally one has a real piece of luck. And the piece of luck I had was that within the last 24 hours I've played that on a record program for British Forces Broadcasting. And so I am pretty well clued up on this. I could recite you a 1 minute 35-second link, but I'm not going to. It is by Smetana. And it comes from a suite of 6 symphonic poems called Ma Flast. And it is Latava, or Molda, which is a river in Bohemia.
Yes, very much. The river. Vltava, I think. I once stood on the Charles Bridge over it, and I addressed it as the Vltava. Oh, Vltava, I said. But you're quite right. And
you said that to it. Who did you say that? To the river?
To the
yes,
sliver
I did,
bit.
actually, yes.
What an emotional experience that must be.
I always think Vltava is probably an anagram on Wolf. Anyway.
I never thought of that, I must say.
If I were a crossword compiler, I'd be glad there is such a river, I can tell you. 2 marks, Ian. It's Vltava by Smetana from his My Country. 2 marks. Frank, what's the title of this symphonic piece?
ist ein guten Herren.
And so say all of New. I did say, though, this symphonic piece, and that was... I said
he's a jolly good fellow. And I advise you to accept my answer. I might get restive.
I will not be browbeaten, no, not even by the pal of David Franklin.
Oh.
No, I want a symphonic answer, please.
But if you could give us the composer, it might help.
All right, so you lose 1 mark. Beethoven. Now, that's something you didn't know before. Battle Symphony, Wellington's Victory, the Battle of Victoria. This was 91. No mark. Yes, he incorporated it. General knowledge...
He pinched it. What do you mean he incorporated it?
General knowledge of the music repertoire. For 2 marks, David, musically speaking, what will you find at the Villa Borghese, on the Appian Way, and near a catacomb?
Is this a reference to an opera?
No, not opera.
Is it a sort of Eric Coates type suite?
It is.
Oh, wait a minute.
Aha.
Is this a Rossini suite?
No, I have to come in and tell you it's Respighi who wrote The Pines of Rome.
Yes.
So you would find pines in those various places. Dennis, your question is in 2 parts. What is the can-can and why is it so called?
We had this question in a similar, sort of sister program to My Music, which is put out by the same management. And I forget what the answer was, but I do remember this, that I had a very interesting letter after it from a listener, a Scottish, in Fifeshire.
Just Fife.
Is it just Fife? Yeah, sorry. Sorry up there. And he I'll see if I can remember this. He said that the dance originated in the early part of the century in the student cafes round the Sorbonne, where the young lawyers used to sit and argue, and the Latin word quam, which is a sort of low Latin word, I think it means however, was much bandied about. At the same time this dance was going on, and it's rather a naughty pun on the dance itself. It's a sort of corruption of quam. What the dance is, I needn't explain. It's that one where they go and they leap about, and they come down on the flying splits on cold oilcloth.
Well, not for the first time in this game has a member of the team spoken with such authority that I have to accept his word, even though it bears no relationship to what I have written here at all. It's the sort of thing that happens to chairmen all over the world. You got 2 marks, Denis Norden. Can, it says here, equals gossip, tittle-tattle, French.
Right.
Fair enough. 2 marks. Ian, where will you find boat songs, a hunting song, spring and spinning songs, sadness of soul, and consolation?
The local pub, I think.
I think that's a perfect answer. Well, if I tell you what, if I got away with quam,
I would say perhaps that we might be in the realm here of songs without words.
He's there. He's got it.
With Mendelssohn.
Yes. All popular titles of Mendelssohn's songs without words.
They haven't got any words. How do you know what they were talking about?
I didn't write them, Frank, so I couldn't answer that.
Point of information, that's all.
2 marks for Ian. Frank, where will you find a magpie, a ladder, and a toy shop?
Just mention the name Rossini.
Rossini?
Yes. The works of Rossini. Yes.
All those 5 were works by Rossini.
The ladder being silken, the boutique was fantasque, and the magpie was thievish, all works by Rossini. 2 marks. See if you can identify these songs from the shows. 2 marks available. David, yours is operetta. Which show and when was it first produced?
With love that is volcanic, our hearts are aflame.
Oh dear, we're in a panic. We're so sorry we came.
You won't escape save us longer, it's useless to pray.
Insist you are the stronger, we'll run right away.
I must take up classes in lip reading.
Well,
I've no idea.
David, I'll give you the title and then you have a shot at the date in which it was first produced. Lilac Time. It came from Lilac Time. First production in, have a guess.
Early 20s.
Yes, that's near enough. If you'd like your mark, 1922, yes.
I was going to say 1921.
Oh, well, you'd have been nearly right. 1 mark out of 2. Dennis, which show and in which American state was it set?
You and your glance make this romance too hard to handle. Stars in the night, blazing the night, can't hold a candle to your razzle-dazzle.
Show and state.
It's Finian's Rainbow.
Yes, that's 1 mark.
And it was sort of set in a cannibalized version of the South. It's somewhere around Mississippi, somewhere around there.
You got a half mark for Missy and the second half of another state.
Missy Liner.
Oh, bad luck. 1.5 marks. It was Finian's Rainbow, as you say. Missy Tucky was the state. Combination of Mississippi and Kentucky. Ian, who's the man and what was his profession, please?
You carry me across the threshold, and I'll be as meek as a lamb. Then you set me on my feet, and I'll say kind of sweet.
Well, it was Mr. Snow.
Yes. And his profession?
Chartered accountant. Or a fisherman. Fisherman.
Yes. You can't seem to lose the smell of fish.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Song, where second choice, 1.5 out of 2. All right?
Yes.
Mr. Snow, a fisherman from Carousel. Frank, what's the name of the show, and what might its name have been changed to on February the 15th, 1971?
If the rain's got to fall, let it fall on Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, any day but Sunday. Sunday's the day when it's gotta be fine, 'cause that's when I'm meeting my girl.
It's a song that's from the Threepenny Opera. Subtitled Half a Sixpence. And the date you mentioned was Decimalization Day.
Yes.
This is engraved upon our hearts in bronze. And I suppose it's half a 2.5p.
So it's
1.25.
Yes. Half a sixpence or 1 1/4 new pence. Yes, you got 2 marks there. Here's a chance for listeners to enjoy some snatches of popular pieces with only the minimum of verbal interjections from you. A mark for the name of the place. So, simple question, David, where?
Is it?
Only just, but I think it is.
I have taken instructions, and I'm told that it's San Francisco,
Yes.
but only just.
Yes, it's where the cable cars climb halfway to the stars. Yes, San Francisco. David has a mark, or somebody's got one anyway. We'll credit it to David. Dennis, where's this?
I'm gonna be staying on the corner, 12th Street and Vine. I'm gonna be staying on the corner, 12th Street and Vine. They got some crazy little women there, and I'm gonna get me one.
My mind has fled. I know that, but I can't think of the...
It's only about 12th Street.
Yeah, I know, 12th Street and Vine.
Yeah, they got Vine streets in various cities, though.
It's an urban sprawl in America. I know that.
Yes, and I'll tell you, it's in the eastern half of America too. In case you were thinking of Vine Street in Hollywood.
Yeah, I know. And there's lots more. There's another song with the same title as well. I can't. Oh, it makes you want to spit. No, it's just fled. I'm sorry.
Yep.
St. Louis? No, I'm sorry.
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Kansas City,
Going to
yes.
Kansas City, yeah.
No, can't help you there. Kansas City it was. Ian, where's this?
Watch beneath my window keeping, while all are sleeping, as oft of old.
I fall, oh, pity my fall.
I never knew it was one of your records, Frank.
Listen. I hope nobody thought that was you, Ian.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, but it's nevertheless a nice bit of Scottish-French collaboration, because it's from Bizet's Fair Maid of Perth.
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 Perth is right.
Aye.
Yes, for a mark, for Ian Wallace. Yes. Frank, where's this?
Rolling along on my caisson, I rolled quite a long way, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
Tripoli for a mark, yes. The shores of Tripoli.
And the caissons go roll.
Marine Corps. Yeah. Here are some sequences of letters. See if you can tell me for a mark what these letters represent in music. David Franklin, C, G, D, A.
Oh, these are the notes to which...
Little careful, yes.
Yes.
C,
I mustn't
G, D,
blunder into
A.
this one. C, D, G, A.
You have a choice, I may say.
It's the Coventry Great Dane Association. Next question.
And these are the notes to which the Great Danes are tuned.
Yeah. Yes, you're very much on the right track.
It's the notes to which viola is tuned.
Yes, that's right. Or the cello. That's why I said you had a choice. Viola or cello. C, G, D, A. That's a mark for David Franklin. Dennis, E, G, B, D, F.
G, F.
E, G, B, D, F.
E, G, B, D, yes. I learnt the violin for 4 months when I was 11 under Mr. Crisp. And so it was finally decided that the gulf between me and music was too wide. And this was... Well, I learnt 2 things. This and F-A-C-E. Am I right? Was that
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I'd rather you hadn't said it in view of Frank's question, but you're right, yes.
All right.
Go on, Dennis,
Right.
do.
Yeah. Frank, hang about. E, G, B, D, F, and he gave me a thing that you remember it by, which is every good boy deserves females. I forget what the F was, but anyway, it's something to do with that there are 5 lines, and these are the notes that go on the lines.
Yes, he's a very advanced teacher, Mr. Chris. Yes, most
He
of
had
us...
a hell of a job, you know.
Most of us learn every good boy deserves favour, or in some cases fish. They are, in fact, the notes on the lines of the treble clef. 1 mark for Dennis. Ian, E, A, D, G, B, E.
E, A,
D, G,
G,
and Director
B,
General.
E.
B, E. Yeah.
I am driven to the conclusion that those might be the notes to which you tune a guitar, because it has 6 strings.
Good thinking, Wallace. Good thinking. You're right. The tuning notes of the guitar. E, A, D, G, B, E. Now, here's a surprise. Frank Muir.
Hit me.
Yes,
Hit me. This is the only occasion in my music in which I've been able to write down the answer before the question... before the question's been given.
Don't spoil it for me, my moment of triumph. Let's have it, Steve.
Frank, QXJ. or No. F-A-C-E, Frank. F-A-C-E.
Well, now, if you imagine that the stave... That's the right word, isn't it? The stave is 5 telegraph wires.
Yes.
If you imagine there are 4 starlings sitting on the lowest one, then the next one up, then the next one up, then the next one up. And if you imagine a charge of electricity accidentally goes through the telephone wires, those 4 starlings would rise slightly in the air and would hover in between the 5 wires. And those are the notes. They're the notes in between the lines of a
Your
stave.
Dennis is Mr. Crisp.
What I think Frank
Goodbye,
is trying
Mr.
to
Crisp.
say is that the first starling would sing F, the
Yes.
second starling would sing A,
Yes.
the third one would sing C, and the
Fourth one.
top one would sing a top E.
That's right, and they'd be the spaces on the treble clef. Now for the singing.
Nothing.
For which this programme is so justly. David, here's your song for 3 marks.
Every member of the force has a watch and chain, of course. If you want to know the time, ask a policeman.
3 marks. Thank you. Song from Dennis.
I know. I always believe in having it if you fancy it.
That's it.
If you fancy it, it's understood. I'll be dreaming as they spoon that I'm on my honeymoon, 'cause a little of what you fancy does you good.
Did you ever play Collins Islington? 3 marks for Dennis. Ian, your song.
That death is a dream and love is foray. So awaken, my Kusla, awake from your dreaming. My blue-eyed Kusla, awake for to stay.
Frank, and here we want you and the audience too, please. And if you don't know the words, just la it, but loudly. So here's Frank's and your song.
La 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 la.
Words from you. Doesn't anybody know the words? Wedding bells will ring so merrily. Every tune will be a memory. So wake and pray each night for me, Frank.
Thank you. Time, gentlemen, please. All out, please. Act of power.
The audience has 3 marks and they may give it to anybody they choose. Mr. Frank? Right. End of programme, and we hope you've enjoyed it, as we, I think, so obviously have. Just for interest, the winners, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier.